operation of the county jail, security on the county's courts, serving all criminal and civil warrants, and locating and arresting fugitives from justice. Please welcome Sheriff Thomas Brown. Then we have Ms. Stephanie Davis, who is Executive Director of Georgia Women for a Change in Atlanta, Georgia, a nonprofit public policy institute with a gender lens that represents Georgia activists on issues across a spectrum of areas, including healthcare, economic justice, and challenging violence against women and girls. Ms. Stephanie Davis. Next, we have Dr. Henri Treadwell. She is Director and Senior Social Scientist for Community Voices, also full-time research professor in the Department of Community Health and Preventative Medicine at the Morehouse School of Medicine. Next, we have Mr. Isaac Eves. He is a senior at Mays High School. I like that bow tie. He's also a Fulton County Youth Ambassadors Program. He's been accepted to Morehouse College. I don't know if he's going to be coming or not, you know, but he shares a namesake with somebody who may be familiar to all of us. All right. And finally, we have Judge Sean E. LeBrewer, Superior Court Judge, Fulton County, which encompasses the majority of the city of Atlanta. Also, she is the former Inspector General and Senior Assistant District Attorney in Fulton and DeKalb counties. Judge LeBrewer. At this point, I believe that Dr. Treadwell has a few slides she wants to share.
I'm going to dispense with it. I don't think we have time. I'll just speak.
Okay. All right. So if that's the case, well, what I'll invite you to do, you saw some of the challenges that I submitted on the slide. And if you will, just give some thought to some challenges that youth may face that I did not address, or you can expand on something that I did. So we want to sort of highlight, some additional thoughts you have, and then we're going to switch to solutions. So we're raising challenges, but at the end of the day, we want folks to leave with some idea of what to do. Does that make sense? Okay, so we can open up the floor. Anyone want to reflect or offer some other thoughts regarding challenges that you face?
So we're going to do the challenges first and then come back in another segment and do the solutions?
Yes. Okay, all right. So what we'll do is we can go down the line, have each one of you all speak. We can do it that way to keep it in decent and in order. But yeah, I want us to identify some of these challenges. I'm going to put the slide back up in a second, try to add, and then we'll have sort of a solution segment. So we can start with Mr. Davis, and then we'll work this way down the panel.
Okay, good morning, and thank all of you for coming out this evening, this afternoon. Actually, it's still morning. I was losing track of time here. We really can't have a discussion about healthy communities and sustainability until you have a discussion about a healthy education system. I won't ask hands for who was around when Roots came out, but there was one line in there that said that there's one thing that poor people have in common. And the more you think about it, it's worldwide, it's across color, it's across gender. Poor people are generally uneducated. That's what they have in common. And in many ways, I think our nation is undervaluing education. Representative Abrams mentioned that a bit, but I am sort of fond of pointing out that we pay people more per hour to take care of our cars than to take care of our children. And we wonder why both are breaking down with increasing frequency as well. And when we shortchange and undervalue our education system, we shortchange our children, and in turn we certainly shortchange our communities. I often wonder, and generally, and there are a lot of, there were some political figures, some have left, some are still here, and it's always vogue, of course, to talk about we don't want to raise taxes. Now, Representative Abrams said she is not afraid to to mention the T word, but most politicians today don't want to raise taxes. But it amazes me that they ignore one simple fact, and that is educated people pay a lot more taxes. If you're a high school graduate, for example, in the state of Georgia, you'll pay about $5,200 in various taxes. If you have a master's degree, you'll pay $10,500. And so I always tell my friends in the legislature, you can have the best of all worlds. You can have a lot more revenue. You don't have to raise taxes. Just invest in education, because it comes back to pay off. And you can be a hero, not raise taxes, and you'll have more money to spend, which actually they all enjoy doing. We are working very hard in the Atlanta public school system to get headed in the right direction. As many of you know, we've had our challenges over the last few years. We have a strategic plan, mission, values, all of those things we're focusing on. Such things as excellence, ethics, engagement with our community, and equity as well. I have discovered that, much to my surprise in this community, that we had structural imbalances built into our system, where some communities receive many more resources than others, and I was somewhat stunned to find that out. We had a system that worked well for some students, but not for all students. That is changing. We graduate in 4 years a little over 50% of our students. I talked to our workforce and I asked them, would you ride on an airline that crashed every other time? I said, that's what we're doing. We're failing 1 out of every 2 to graduate in 4 years. Now, the other 50% don't drop out. We only have about an 8% dropout rate. It just generally takes them a little longer to achieve some sort of degree. But our high school graduation rates are pretty unacceptable. We have some very, very good schools in our system. We have some very rigorous academic programs. We have some incredibly bright students, one of which is on the podium here today. And we have a lot of dedicated, intelligent, honest teachers and principals. I'm fond of pointing out a lot of things, and one of the things I point out that education is the only industry in America where failure is blamed on the workers. It is the only one. Every other industry, failure is blamed on who it should be blamed on, the leadership, people at the top. And so we're trying to change that dynamic as well. We have 1,100 kids who drop out of our system every year. Most kids don't drop out in high school. They do drop out in high school, but they make the decision before then. They make the decision much earlier. They make it in middle school, not in high school. And when you ask middle school principals what happens, why, and they say for many of these kids, life gets in the way. Now, many of you know that 1 week, 1 day, and about 21 hours ago, we had a very frightening incident at a middle school in this city. We had a child that shot another child. Thankfully, the second child was only minimally hurt, and he was released from the hospital that very evening without any life-threatening injuries. But I've been out to the school. I've asked why something like this happens. And the principal said he didn't really understand it, but he did know that more and more children are coming to school angry every day, much more so than in the past. And we as adults can only imagine what youth are subjected to today. You heard some of the differences in terms of media and connectivity. But if you look at what they've been exposed to, by the time a child reaches 18, they've been exposed to 500,000 sexual messages or images via music, television, and movies. And 1 out of every 3 gang members is now under the age of 18, and many were introduced to gang activity in middle school for reasons that you just heard from the podium. Middle school and preteens is an exciting time. It's a challenging time. It's a time where we give young people more and more freedom in a period where they are confused and perhaps very less able to deal with that freedom. And it's somewhat terrifying. Now, we're here today to talk about strategies to address challenges in education. I don't think we've really cracked the code, but we're getting there. But I do know that there's some things that are important. And one is effective teaching and rigorous instruction. As I suggested earlier, quality leaders at every level. And intensive support services for our students. We're feeding about 75% of our students 2 meals a day. Those 10 meals for many of our students are the only meals they're going to get in the week. And so we put together care packages on Friday for kids to take home over the weekend. And so we need your support. We need wraparound services. We need more counseling, more social services. And most of all, we need the community's collective will to make sure that we set aside adult issues, as was the first point on the screen, and do what's right for our children instead. So I look forward to further discussion on these issues, and so I'll stop now before I get arrested here.
And Sheriff, yes, if you can go ahead and provide solutions as you raise your issues as well, that applies to the panel as well. That'll work for you, all right, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and good morning.
Good
Let me start off by saying I believe my legacy is what I do for my children's children. Now, I won't have my first child's child until July of this year, and I'm very pleased with that. My 2 adult children now, my oldest is a second-year resident, and my youngest, my son, just finished his past December from Tech, and he starts Monday at Boeing Aircraft as a mechanical engineering. So I know the value of a great education for our children. Because biblically for us, a good man would always leave something for their children's children. And to me, that legacy is in education. So anything that I do from this point forward, in my life, personally or professionally, it really doesn't matter to me anymore because I have done what I think I was supposed to have done, and I'm pleased with that. I want to kind of quote 2 people, Albert Einstein and Sylvanus Tyler Brown. Albert Einstein said that the definition of insanity is someone that does the same thing over and over again and looking for the same result. Sylvanus Tyler Brown, my grandfather, said, and I'm going to clean it up, you put a teaspoon of ice cream in a gallon of human waste, and it doesn't hurt the human waste. But the moment you put a teaspoon of human waste in a gallon of ice cream, you run the whole ice cream. Now, what do I mean by that? We heard our moderator already say once today that we're looking at a generation of young people who did not live the civil rights movement. I see that every day, in that when I see grandparents today, they're in their 40s, and they never learned parenting skills. And yet they're grandparents. So now we have our young people losing the ability to have appropriate role models to teach them how to parent. And peer pressure is running rapid throughout school systems. Middle schools, as Aaron has already indicated, is a terrible time, or pressing time for our young people. They're going through puberty, they have parts of their body, they're starting to grow hair that they hadn't would grow hair before. And so they're just influenced by a lot of different factors. And yes, social media have a lot to do about that. We tried as an experiment